Abraham Lincoln once said, "Folks are as happy as they make their minds up to be." And this is one of those quotes that has really stuck with me since that first initial time I have ever heard it. Now, I myself, I try to be as happy as I can, because when I heard this quote, it really rang home for me. It was one of those things that, you have no absolute control over anything that goes on in your life. And a lot of times we pursue things in hopes to find happiness, but ultimately we just want to be happy. But we tie our happiness to achieving something in our life, when in fact, if we could just understand and appreciate those things that we have in that moment, that we can be happy right now. Now, this is something hard for me to digest, so I'm not just telling you so you're like, okay, well, Marcus, I'm not happy. How are you telling me I'm going to be happy? I realize that, but just stick with me for a second, because happiness is something that is internal. And no matter what the situation is, you have absolutely no control over it. Now, you can take responsibility for it, or you cannot, and you can blame it on somebody else. You realize that it was the other person that you didn't achieve whatever that thing was. Or you can take the responsibility and just let it roll off your shoulder. It is what it is. You are there to pursue your happiness. That's inside. And that takes the whole idea, the whole concept, the principles, the perspective, and flipping it on its head. Anything that you do in a day-to-day basis, if you could just look at the positive of that thing, you realize about how more appreciative you can be about what you do have. Now, that's not easier said than done, right? Because a lot of times something will happen and it'll just completely ruin your day, and you're like, well, how am I supposed to be happy? And it's in that moment that you decide to be happy, in that moment that you decide, you know what, I'm not gonna let whatever just happen destroy the rest of my day. And then have some kind of, saying you can tell yourself and tell yourself, right, that it's gonna be a good day. It's the best. It's the best. And after a while, you start believing that. And then that thing that was making you so upset, you realize, you know what? It's not even worth it. It's not even worth the time. It's not even worth the energy, right? Because we can feed so much energy into that thing, and it can destroy your whole day. It can ruin all your habits. It can ruin all these other positive things you got going on in your life, because that one thing just lingered in there and continued to rattle around in your head, right? And just extinguish your happiness for that day. Right? I believe every day you wake up and you have this happiness inside you, but something will test that. It's always tested every day. Whether you wake up late, whether you're driving in traffic, whether, you find out that maybe you're losing your job or something, a lot of these things are hard to deal with. But you find that if you don't label it as a bad thing or a good thing, that you can attack these things so much easier. And you realize that with a level head, you can do it with a smile on your face. And some people may be confused. Sometimes I even confuse myself. But the biggest thing is that, you are going to look at it as an opportunity. And a lot of us get tunnel vision. There was many years in which I had tunnel vision. And, I thought that I had to find happiness. And to realize that it was just internal the whole time, that it was my perspective on the way I looked at things that determines how your life is going to be. And I've had people come up to me and tell me, so-and-so is extremely angry. Like, how could you not get angry at this thing? And in my mind, I'm just thinking, what is the purpose of getting angry at that thing? Now, this may be due to the recent events that have happened in my life, but life is short. Why are you going to waste time and energy on something that essentially means absolutely nothing? You can go to a doctor's appointment today or tomorrow and realize that maybe you only have 6 months to live. And then what do you do? Now, this is something I have talked about before, and it's to try to rattle your current state and help you focus and put things in perspective of what really matters. Does, doing this thing at work at a specific time and getting changed around back and forth, right? Is this really worth dwelling over? Is this really worth getting angry over? Spending time taking these thoughts and ideas of what happened during your day home with you, right? Or all these things that have happened in your life, and to sit and just dwell in it and fester in it, it's only going to cause more negativity. And then again, by the end of the day, you're depleted of happiness, and you wonder why you can't find happiness. Is because it all starts with that mindset and not allowing these daily events to essentially penetrate that happiness, right? Just think of happiness like the balloon. You gotta carry it through all day long in hopes that no one will try to pop it. A lot of people will try to pop it, right? If you were a young kid, you realize that there's a lot of kids that want to play with your balloon. So you got to protect that balloon, right? In hopes that by the end of the day, there's still helium in it for you to play, right? And so that's ultimately it, is just protecting your happiness and not being in a way that you avoid things, but just not letting those things affect you on a personal level, not let those things hit at your happiness. Protect your happiness by all means, but just let it be what it is. When you start thinking in this way, you realize that you're a much happier person. And I realize that I myself have become a much happier person because I don't let things affect me. It takes a lot for something to affect me, because I realize that in the overall grand scheme of things, this little thing that I could be mad at, or someone else that could be mad at, there's no point in being mad at it. And that's why I laugh at things. And some people, you know, they're like, why are you laughing? I don't understand. And people get angry at that. And in my defense, you know, I'm not trying to be silly in that moment. But in that moment, I can be serious. Don't get me wrong. I can be serious when I need to be. But the point is that a lot of these things are so minute. And when you get it in perspective, you kind of just laugh about it. Like, are you really going to fight over this little thing? Right? Like this one little thing, you're gonna fight. You're gonna destroy your day. You're gonna blame everything. You're gonna ruin all your routines that you have going for you to perhaps get healthy and do all these other things. You're gonna ruin all that because you're stuck on this one thing. Right? In the grand scheme of things, how much does that really matter? Whatever that one thing is, you'll probably forget about it tomorrow. Good majority of the time, you're gonna forget about it tomorrow, especially if it's related to traffic, am I right? So don't let these things, these outside elements, just penetrate your happiness. Protect it. And know that all your happiness is on the inside. Feed your thoughts, your ideas with positive things about how you're a good person, about how, you know, you have this ambition to do good in every single day. And that if you see that person walking down the street with their head down and, you know, they're not smiling, they seem in the dumps, you know, say, hey, how's it going? Right? You see how quick they perk up. You got too many people doing that, walking around with their head down, right? You need to be the one to raise your head up, to be happy, right? You have something to be happy, right? You're breathing air, right? There's a lot of things to be happy for. I've had some really low points in my life, and I still have tried to find the happiness no matter where it is, right? You try to find some kind of happiness. You start little if you have to, but realize that you can build it up. And then realize that in the grand scheme of things, I am in sole possession of my happiness. If I want to be happy, I have to decide right this moment that I'm going to be happy, and I'm not going to let anything else affect that. So take this video for what it's worth. Tomorrow, go out, have the ambition to be happy, and don't let anybody else affect that.